Hey Lionheart, I'm Robyn-Ann, life coach to Kingdom Woman, and I'm so glad that you're here. Now, I wanted to quickly share 4 ways that I had to learn to shift when I just realized I kept overcommitting myself and overcomplicating rest. We know we're called to it. We know God's, his yoke is easy, his burden is light. And yet, many of us, we find ourselves so overwhelmed, burnt out, hustling with the culture, instead of harvesting from the grace God has already provided for us to live within, right? And so these mindset shifts were a big help, and they have been a big help also to my clients. So I wanted to share them quickly here also. So number one is stop confusing free time with available time. Just because you have open slots on your calendar does not mean it is available for others to be able to access it, right? Just because you realize that, oh, my Saturday seems to be open, doesn't mean if someone says, hey, are you open Saturday, that this is something that you have to say yes to. A lot of times we really have to get better at really point number two, which is blocking and scheduling rest in our calendar. A lot of times we don't do that. We just assume whatever is left after the day's over, after we've done all our tasks, after all our commitments, then that's when we get to rest. But you can actually schedule rest in. Schedule in your sleep, schedule in your curfew. Yes, I'm a grown woman. I still put a curfew on myself to help me protect the boundaries and the healthy rest that I know God invites me to. And so that I can also protect the energy I want to give to God in the mornings, right? So, number one is don't confuse available time for free time for others to access, and two, schedule in rest first, okay? The third thing is you want to also go ahead and, so look at my notes, stop saying yes by default. So many times, especially if it's someone we love, or if it's our church or our bosses, or just people that, we really have a relationship with, we sometimes, because of people pleasing, or sometimes just because it's a default, if we're asked if we can attend something, go somewhere, do a task, we automatically just say yes. And even if we are feeling extremely overwhelmed, burnt out, hectic, like we're about to lose our sanity and our peace. And so this is especially for women who you are feeling that burn. You're really starting to bump up against those margins. Your body's trying to tell you, we've had enough, we're tired, we're weary, you're losing that energy, you're losing that lust for life, you're losing that, just that zest and that energy for God, for people. Sometimes that's just another sign. Being around people is starting to really irritate you. And we know that's not a fruit of the spirit, right? So these are some of the signs to listen to really realize that it may be time to pull back. Start saying no by default. I literally had a season I had to switch to that. God was like, just start no. The answer is no, until you learn to then come and filter things through me and realize you have the permission to say no to things. You have the permission to resist trying to please others. You have permission to rest. You have permission to walk whole in your mind, in your body, and not push yourself to the max, right? It doesn't have to be that way. How do I know? As an overachiever, previous workaholic, I know that for a lot of us who are high functioning women, we can sometimes start to blur the lines of when we're really overwhelmed and overcommitted versus just overachieving. So definitely switch that default to no for a season. If they really love you, they'll be there, they'll understand. And even if they don't, like, you're not gonna die. You're not gonna die that they're not happy with you. And it really may help, like we said, expose some of that people pleasing that you kind of have, that you're carrying, and it's causing you to be used more by other people than by what God has for you. So that's number three. Switch to saying no by default, and then you can always come back later if you've prayed on it, thought about it, filtered it through God, filtered it through what your body is saying, through the whispers of heaven, through peace. And if it's a yes, go back and reply that, okay, this would be a great opportunity. I'd love to come. I'd love to do this, right? Number four, you want to go ahead and give yourself permission to change your mind. So let's say in the moment you said yes. You said yes again. Or there really are some commitments you've already said yes to, and you just are realizing it is going to put you under. You are feeling the weight of, this is not something I needed to say yes to. This is not something I need to do. This is not something I need to burn myself out for, right? Then you can say no. You can go back and say, I am so sorry, but I realize I really would not have the capacity for this. So I'm gonna have to switch, right? Give yourself that permission and that grace to change your mind. A lot of times we just really think we can't, you know? I remember, and I mentioned it too in the last video about saying a lot of I can'ts and I need to's, and how that typically is rooted in just a scarcity mindset, limiting beliefs about ourselves, a lower self-worth, and they are not the empowering language that you want to give yourself in your brain to get more creative with problem solving ways for you to get out of your situation. Typically, you're in the situation you're in because you're making decisions from that place of just a lower self-image and not the empowered identity that God's calling us to, right? You're not a victim. You are the master of the schedule and the time God gave you to manage it and steward it well. And so you have to realize that others aren't going to back down for you and say, oh my gosh, you're over committed. No, we'll take it off your plate. That typically doesn't happen because they don't know all the things you have going on. They don't know how you feel. They don't know what's happening with your spirit, man, internally, your emotions, your body. You have to be the one who speaks up, right? And so I want to encourage you, beloved, you can overcome overwhelm. You don't have to live with that lifestyle choice to be overwhelmed. You can go from burnt out to burning bright again with the goodness of God and become full of his spirit again, which is really what he's trying to get us to, but he needs the space to do that. This is why this topic is so important. It's bigger than us feeling tired. When God is not able to get the room to do what he wants to do, we're holding back heaven's agenda and we're really getting in God's way, right? And I don't want that for us. There's so much to do, so much more he wants to show us, but that just requires a lot of times doing less better and really simplifying our focus to make it easier to do what really matters most. All right, so if this helped you, let me know in the comments which one of those points, especially if you're going to really start saying no more, if you're going to start scheduling in your rest and not just assuming you'll fall asleep sometime, because even social media can eat up that time at night, or if it's really starting to look at some of that free time and realize that doesn't mean it's available time. You can be a bit more selfish, read a book, spend more time with God. He really wants that. It's the only thing we can spend with him is our time. So we've got to protect it more. All right. Let me know which one of those points you're going to implement in the comments so we can have a conversation there. And if you are really looking for a mentor to really help you even pinpoint some of the other ways that you're being blindsided and, you know, really functioning from a place of distraction and doubt, and you want to shift to becoming a more decisive, disciplined, and daring woman, someone who's really discerning about the things she's letting into her life, because, you know, it's really eating up your time and it's leaving you feeling like you're out of control and like you're living someone else's life. You're not living the empowered life you know God is calling you to. Then I would love to be your mentor. I just recently launched a new mentorship program, so it's 50% off right now, obviously around the date of this video. So definitely click the link in the description to check it out. Super affordable, because I wanted to walk with more women who are ready now to shift from just being more busy to really becoming the woman that God first wants before he tells us to do anything else. So if that's you, I would be delighted to have you. You can definitely get a clarity call going with me as soon as you book. So I'm hoping to see you inside. But anyways, I will see you next week.